Hey everyone, Nicholas here and welcome back to my channel. Alright, so here is another episode of what I learned from, and in this video I'm going to talk about the book Atomic Habits. So I'm pretty sure you all have, maybe it's very likely that you all have seen this book somewhere or even read it before, and or maybe have just watched some summary videos or articles about it. I think it got quite popular, especially last year, 2021. So yeah, I personally read it like last year, and it really resonates a lot with me, and I think this book is very interesting. So maybe a bit of overview of the books first. So generally what this book is trying to deliver, trying to say is that it is very important for us to have a habit. So the author tried to emphasize on the importance of having a habits, whereas in this world right now people are championing about being creative, and you might have that sort of like that image of having a habit sounds very monotonous and it is counter it's not good for creativity, something like that. But actually this book sort of like try to emphasize on the importance of habit and try to argue that it's actually otherwise, that having habit is actually giving us much more freedom. Having habits allow us to do more things, unlike the sort of like the image that having a habit is monotonous. So yeah, I think it's a very interesting book, and yeah, I guess without further sorry, it's been a while since I did my video, and I think the opening is very terrible today. But anyway, without further ado, let's start with the first key things that I wanted to share. And okay, I messed up the opening again. But anyway, so as usual, in this video I'm going to talk about like 3 key ideas from this book that I think is very interesting, and I would love to share more in this video. Alright, so without further ado, let's start with the first one. So goals are about the results you want to achieve. Systems are about the processes that lead to those results. The score takes care of itself. The same is true for other areas of life. If you want better results, then forget about setting goals. Focus on your system instead. Goals are good for setting a direction, but systems are best for making progress. Alright, so these first few quotes generally resonates with me a lot, significant a lot. I think over the course of my life, I never really wanted to set goals. I think I'm not sure if I mentioned this in one of my videos back then. Maybe I've sort of like talked about this previously, but maybe I've known this. I actually really hate setting goals. In fact, I'm bad at it. Like short-term goals just won't work for me. I'm not sure why it never really works for me, and I really resonate with this a lot. Reason being that goals are really about the results you want to achieve, but at the end of the day, it is the system, it's the processes that you do that actually determines your result. Because goals are really a result thing, like you either get it or you didn't get it, things like that, right? And maybe a bit of sharing how I resonate with this a lot. I think one of the samples that I can give, that maybe I've given before, is that back then when I was in junior high school, I tried to set goals that I want to get this particular grade, I want to get this particular score. I try to target, okay, I'm not sure how things are in your country about the education system, but back in Indonesia we have this thing called ranking, and it determines your rank based on your score in your class. Like, oh, you're the first rank, you're the second rank, third rank, and so on and so on. And I sort of like had this goal of, oh, I want to get into the top 5 of the class. So that was the goal, and I just never seemed to achieve it when I set the goals, and when I thought I would almost achieve it, something just happened and it just screwed up. But then, so long story short, I got into the 3rd year of my junior high school, and I got sort of like a bit tired of the goal setting kind of things. I ignore it, I no longer set goals, I don't even care about it. My aim totally changed. So I actually discovered this sort of like by accident back then. So I just sort of like getting tired to set something up, like a goal. Then I was like, okay, never mind, I just try my best for every single exam. I just aim for the best, that's it. I just focus on doing the best that I can. So I didn't set a goal. It was partly because I felt like I always could not get it, and I just sort of like lost hope. I lose hope that I felt pessimistic to some extent, like, oh no, I don't think I can get into top 5, things like that. I don't think I can maintain the grades, things like that, stuff like that. So it get into my head, and I'm like, okay, never mind, I just try my best for every single exam. No matter what it is, I just try my best, study the hardest, do everything that I could. That's it. And so I get into the 3rd year of junior high school with that mentality, and to my surprise, I achieved all the things that I achieved without setting the goals. When my goals was actually lower than that, I actually get into like top 2 or even top 3. So that was how I started to realize. That was actually the first time I realized that, oh, I think setting a goal isn't really my thing. So ever since then, I never really go and try to set a goal, because I feel like it just never really helps me. And when I actually do not set a goal and I just focus on the process, things just seem to work. So that's how it started, and that's why when I read this book, and the author mentioned about these, that, you know, goals are about results, systems are about the process, and you know, the score takes care of itself. Like, you know, you just focus on the process, and you know, the result will follow, things like that. I resonate a lot, and I do agree with what he's talking about, because I experienced it firsthand, right? So I gone through this on my own. I went through this back then on my own. So I think this is a very important learning point that I guess maybe if you're watching this, maybe it could apply to you as well, because, you know, when you're looking at Instagram or reading articles or whatever it is, watching, you know, productivity videos or whatsoever, a lot of people emphasize a lot on, you know, you need to set a goal, you need to have a goal, you need to have a target, things like that. Well, maybe it's not really for you, or maybe it's not for everyone, you know, and it certainly does not apply to me. So maybe the same goes for you. So maybe you can just ignore about the goal setting, and you can just be you. Just focus on the process, just focus on the things that you can do your best, and let the result takes care of itself, right? Right, so yeah, that's pretty much it for the first thing that I wanted to share, for the first key ideas that I want to share. The second key ideas is actually still quite related to these. So let's move on to the second idea. Second key points. So the problem with a goal first mentality is that you are continually putting happiness off until the next milestone. So yeah, this is so true. This is so true because you know, whenever we set goals, I think it is human nature that we can't really feel satisfied, and the excitement, the joy, oftentimes is not really when you achieve the result, right? I felt this a lot. Like, when you actually receive the result, the happiness, the joy just stays for like a couple of minutes, and that's it. You get actually much more joy during the anticipation for the result, the anticipation of the achievement. I think that's where the joy comes in, and the problem is that, like the quote mentioned here, is that if you always set goals, your goal just keep on increasing anyway. So, and oftentimes the happiness is not sustainable. And another thing about setting goal or a goal first mentality is that, you know, when you set a goal, it's either you succeed at it or you fail at it. You know, you sort of like have that mindset in mind. If I can achieve that goal, it means I win it. If I could not achieve the goal, I fail. And you just make a room for yourself to feel much more terrible, to feel miserable, because if you can't achieve the goal, you feel miserable, right? Whereas if you actually achieve the goal, yes, you feel happy, but not that happiness won't be sustainable. The happiness does not linger that long. That happiness is not with you, does not stay with you for that long, right? Like, you achieve the result, that's it. Couple of minutes, done. And likely, sometimes even when you're approaching the, you know, when you're approaching the result, you might already set a higher goal. You feel that you can do something else. So in that case, when will you be happy, right? And I'm not saying that you should totally ignore goals. You know, maybe some people, oh, then you mean goals are totally useless? Maybe it works for some people, but the problem is that a goal first, the keyword is goal first. If it is a goal first mentality, it's likely that you won't feel that happy to some extent, because you really create chance whereby you'll feel miserable, which explains what I talked about previously. Like, in my first junior high school, my second junior high school, I set goals, and when I don't achieve it, I just feel totally miserable and I'm not happy at all. So, but let's say if you change your focus, to just focus on the process, on what you can do, on what you try to maximize your output, try to maximize the things that you can do, try to maximize productivity by basically maximizing your time based on your output, right? So do the best that you can. I think that's much better, because you don't create that room for you to potentially feel miserable, unlike when you actually set a goal. Oh, I want to achieve this, and when you don't achieve this, it sounds like failure, and you will not feel good. So yeah, I think this is why I guess I relate a lot more. So I think these first two key ideas are the two ideas that I relate extremely, like I relate very much to these ideas, because I experienced this on my own. And what I'm trying to say here, and why do I want to share about these, is that maybe you have been on the not so right path for yourself all this time. Maybe you have been setting goals where people keep on saying that you need to set goals, blah blah blah. I mean, frankly speaking, even my dad say that you need to set goals. He believes it's an important thing, but I mean, I'll argue otherwise, and I realize that it's not the best way for me to be most productive. I don't think setting goals is suitable for me. So that's why, if you're in similar position, maybe you should try not setting goals. Maybe instead try to focus more on the process, try to focus more on what you can do at this moment. So I think that might do you more favor, that might be more beneficial for you in the future, or in the long term. You might achieve things that you never thought you would achieve before, even when you're setting goals. So yeah, so these two ideas are what I resonate with the most. Yes. Alright, so that being said, let's move on to the third point. Most people don't even consider identity change when they set out to improve. And it's hard to change your habits if you never change the underlying beliefs that led to your past behavior. You have a new goal and a new plan, but you haven't changed who you are. Alright, so in this particular key points, the author, I think, does not really place that kind of emphasis on whether goals or about processes or whatsoever. But maybe just to be clear, I don't think in this book it is saying that goals are totally useless. But what it's trying to say is that where you should focus your attention more is actually the process, and I do agree with that totally. And for myself, to have a goals, it just doesn't work for me, and I never really bother trying to create one. What I have inside is like a dream. I want to have a really grand dream, and it's more of long-term wise, whereby I'm not that stressed about whether I can achieve it or not. So I think that is what works for me. And I think here, when in this third point, actually, well, I explained just a bit of sidetrack, but anyway, about the third point is that most people don't even consider identity change when they set out to improve. And the book actually give an example on this, so let's say there's a smoker, and instead of saying, there's a smoker, there's a guy or girl, whatever, basically someone who's trying to quit, and instead of saying no thanks, I'm trying to quit, it might be much better if they are saying something, no thanks, I'm not a smoker. It's a small difference, as quoted, it's a small difference, but this statement signals a shift in identity. The reason why this is quite important when you're trying to change is that if you never really change who you are, if you never really change your belief in your identity, it's sometimes hard for you to actually change, or for you to achieve a new plan or a new goal. Like in this case, you're trying to quit smoking, right? And I totally agree that having, believing in a particular identity helps you a lot in changing the things that you do, because we are only doing things simply because of who we are. what our identity is, or at least what we believe our identity is. So I think that's maybe if they're in psychology, maybe they can explain that there's some sort of differences. I'm not sure, but I think there might be a differences between your identity and how you perceive your identity is, and how we perceive who we are is actually the most important part in trying to make a change. So I think I get this a lot. So maybe for more relevant examples or scenario, I'll use studies. So I think a lot of the times I see students or even my friends, like they're saying, I'm not good at math, I'm just bad at it, and there's no way I can do it well. That's a problem. So I think I'm pretty sure I mentioned this somewhere in my video back then. I always say that in order for you to be able to do something, you need to first believe that you can do it. So in our context just now, let's say studying, let's say you're bad at math right now, but it's not who are the bad one at math. You just so happen to be bad at it right now, and that's it. So in order for you to be good at it, of course you need to study, but if you still keep that mentality of like, I'm bad at math, that's it. You're right. You're going to stay bad at math forever if you keep on believing that thing. And always emphasize that, if you believe that you can study well, if you believe that you can do math well, if you truly believe that, you're at 50% reaching your goal already. Because the first step again, no matter how much you study, no matter how hard you study, if you still believe that you're bad at it, you're going to be bad at it. It just happened that way. The nature just happened that way. I think it's also maybe because having that mindset sort of limits, sort of constrain your mind to develop, sort of constrain your mind to pick up these new skills, because you already block it. You have this idea that I'm bad at math, and we are trying to learn. No matter how hard you try, your brain just block it, right? So this last key point is a very interesting point, because yes, I totally agree with it, and I believe, let's say if you're trying to change or you're trying to achieve something, the very first step is always believing that you can do it, and you're pretty much 50% there already, right? Because again, if you don't believe you can do it, yeah, you can't do it. That's it. You lost the battle even before you start. That's it for third point. I keep repeating this, but yeah, it's just very important. I think a lot of us fall to that trap of believing that we are something and believing that we can't really change. There's nothing much we can do about it, and that's a problem when we're trying to quit, or when we are trying to, when we are trying to change, when we are trying to achieve something new, when there's a target they wanted to achieve. So yeah, that is pretty much it for this video. Obviously this video is a very chaotic, I guess. I think my explanation is very messy. Well, to be honest, I'm actually still quite in the dilemma on what videos I should create, but I'll talk about it in another video later. But yeah, I hope that what I have shared just now could be useful or could pique your interest more in the book. And yeah, this book is a very good book. I highly recommend it. And obviously, as usual, there are a lot more things, a lot more notes that I take on this book, but I just chose 3 of them out of all the interesting ones, actually. And I just chose these 3 of them that I think I wanted to share, because this relates to me the most, I believe. Yeah. So yeah, I hope it has been useful, and I'm very sorry. I'm very sorry if my explanation is still very terrible. And yeah, I think I should try to create more and more videos, because I noticed that if I haven't been making any videos in a very long time, then my explanation just become super bad, like extremely bad. It wasn't that good in the first place, and after a long time not making any videos, it just straight away gone. Like my skill just gone. And yeah, alright, thanks a lot for watching this video. I hope you learned a thing or two, and I hope you sort of like, you learn something here and you wanted to learn more, and you can pick up the book and read it up. It's a good book, highly recommended. It's not that heavy, it's actually quite light in my opinion, and it's definitely a good read, and I think everyone should, I think you should read it if you haven't. Alright, so yeah, I promise this won't be long, and that's it. Again, thank you for watching this video. If, let's say, there's anything that I misunderstand, or there's anything you want to ask, or anything, just drop it in the comment section and I'll try to respond to it. Okay, so yes, thanks a lot for watching this video again, and see you guys in the next video. See ya!